We have an insane show on tap for you today. ESPN insiders believe the best receiver in this draft class could fall to your Houston Texans. I'll break that down in the rest of their mock draft on today's show. But don't forget, tomorrow, me and Aaron Wilson, a special pre-draft live show here on Texans Today. Tomorrow, April 16th, 5 p.m. Central Time. Be there or be square. Make sure you pull up and get all your draft questions answered. As I mentioned, ESPN believes Tetairoa McMillan could fall all the way to pick 25. We've been seeing him in mocks go as early as 4, 5, 6. Do you think he makes it to 25? Let me know down in the comment section. Could McMillan fall to the Texans? I'm not 100% sure on that, but Mel Kiper and Field Yates, they did a mock draft today where they were interchanging their picks, a 3-round mock draft. And McMillan went to the Texans at pick 25. Some people do believe he's the best wide receiver in this class, but, it's not a sure thing. There's people who think, maybe Travis Hunter, who's that flex defensive back and wide receiver, maybe he's the best wide receiver. A lot of people think maybe it's Matthew Golden. Sneakily, some people might think Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka. But Tetairoa McMillan falling all the way to pick 25. Could this actually happen? I'm not so sure. Let's look at his numbers real quick over the past 3 seasons at Arizona. I mean, 2 straight back-to-back seasons with over 1,300 yards. Averages more than 15 yards per catch, 10 touchdowns last year, 8 touchdowns this year. It would be very hard for me to believe that Tetairoa McMillan, with this guy, with his size, his profile, and his ability and what he showed in college, falls all the way to the pick 25 for your Houston Texans. If he does, though, if somehow in some way we see a slide in the same manner of a CeeDee Lamb or, some of these other famous draft guys who fell. I mean, hell, Justin Jefferson got picked in the 20s. Do you think Tet McMillan could fall to 25? Maybe not. But if he does, I'm running the card up if I'm the Houston Texans. Pairing this guy with Nico Collins as your outside receivers, Christian Kirk working on the inside, and then maybe you get a resurgent year from John Mechie. I think that would be a great start for C.J. Stroud for this offense. I know you need O-line, but this is just too good of a talent to pass up there at pick 25. Now, if you haven't subscribed already, and maybe you aren't able to look at this ESPN Plus mock draft because you don't want to pay $120 a year. Don't worry, you don't have to do that because Texans Today, a subscription to this channel is $0.00 a year. In this economy, yeah, you're not getting that anywhere else. So this is why you subscribe. Breaking down Texans news and rumors all year long, 100% free. All you got to do is go down and hit that sub button. We got draft content. We've got free agency, trades, all the way into the offseason. Going into next year, we got you covered. Your one-stop shop for Texans news and rumors. Let's go into the next pick that they had in this ESPN mock draft. This was another pick by Mel Kiper. The first 2 were by Kiper. The next 2 are going to be by Field Yates. But he had the Texans selecting Anthony Belton from NC State. This one had me scratching my head a little bit. This is what Mel had to say on taking Belton. We obviously can't go 2 rounds without any offensive line reinforcements for Houston. The team gave up 54 sacks last season and made a bunch of big changes this offseason. But there are still holes. Belton played left tackle in college, but has the versatility to fit in wherever the Texans need him. Which, yeah, I mean, on the surface, the Texans need offensive line, and Belton's an offensive lineman. So, I mean, the round hole, round peg kind of fits that. But when you look deeper, when you look into the numbers, I'm not so sure Belton makes that much sense, right? He's a good pass blocker, pretty good at NC State, and an 87.2 overall PFF grade, but run blocking not so good. And look at the penalties. 8 penalties this past year for Belton. So you're telling me a left tackle that's better at pass blocking than run blocking and has a penalty problem? You just gave us a worse Laramie Tunsil, Mel. That's not what the Texans want to do. That's not the way they're trying to go. I'm sorry, Belton might be a good prospect, but not for the Houston Texans. I don't think that makes much sense. And all these guys were still on the board at pick 58. Marcus Bow, who I think that would have been a better fit. Tate Ratledge, just go ahead and get one of the best guards in this class. I think that would have been a better fit. Arianti Ursary, who the Texans brought in on a top 30 visit, and I think just might be a better overall prospect. Dane Brugler has him much higher on his board than an Anthony Belton. Wyatt Millham from West Virginia, who's that tackle guard flex. And then Charles Grant, another guy the Texans brought in for a top 30 visit. All these guys still on the board. And I think Mel just was like, offensive line, here's an offensive lineman, here you go. I don't see the correlation on how it makes that much sense for the Houston Texans to go that way instead of one of these guys. But I will say, I think Field Yates might have saved this mock. I think Field Yates did Mel a big favor for the Houston Texans because I was a little out after the Belton pick. I was like, really? That's where we're going? But I think Field Yates saved it. Here coming up, we have the rest of this ESPN mock draft, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our fantastic sponsors over there at Game Time. Get started today with the official ticketing partner of Texans Today. And I know Texans aren't playing right now, but you know who is playing? Your Houston Rockets. They are in fuego red hot heading in to the NBA playoffs, and it doesn't matter who they play. Grizzlies, Lakers, Fakers. It's Rockets in 5 all the way, and you want to be there. You want to be rooting on the home team, and you can get those tickets with our friends over at Game Time. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more with our friends over at Game Time. And they have all-in pricing, which shows you what you pay without hidden fees or expenses, so you don't have to go to checkout and get bamboozled by last-second expenses. The price you see is the price you get over at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets today with our friends at Game Time. They have another feature called Game Time Picks, which basically filters out all the fluff and just shows you the very best deals on the app, the very best bang for your buck. So you don't have to search through thousands of tickets. It shows you the best value bargains that they have on the app. So get started today with our friends at Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Texans Today and Chat Sports. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Cullen, what time is it? It's game time. Now, let's go into round 3 of the ESPN mock draft. Pick 79. Field Yates might have saved it here. Jared Wilson, ESPN selecting back-to-back offensive linemen for the Houston Texans in this mock draft. And I think this is a smart move. I think this is the play. If the Texans don't go O-line in round 1, you got to double dip. I'm not saying you have to have the next 2 picks be O-line, but you need to stack up multiple offensive linemen in this draft to help revitalize that unit. And that's what they're doing right here with Wilson, who is arguably the best center in this class. Him and Gray Zabel, even though Zabel plays all along the offensive line, they're arguably the 2 best center prospects in this class. And maybe that's saying something about Juice Scruggs, Jarrett Patterson, and that they could go ahead and go in a different direction with a guy in Jared Wilson. Wilson can also play guard, though, but look at these numbers at Georgia in the SEC. 79.6 overall PFF grade, a pass blocking grade of 84.9, run blocking grade of 76.0, 0 sacks allowed, only 3 penalties on the year. He is a smart guy. He is a tough worker, and he is an athletic freak. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe goes a little bit earlier, maybe at the end of round 2 because of his versatility. And like I said, he can play center and guard, and he wowed everybody at the NFL Combine. Look at this RAS score. RAS, relative athletic score, goes all the way up to 10. He's a 9.84. Athletic freak. He ran a 4.840 at his size. 6'3", 310 pounds. Great vert, great broad jump. I mean, even the shuttle, he had a really good time. And you're looking at this Texans offensive line depth chart, and he can fit at any of the interior 3 positions, center, right guard, left guard, which, in my opinion, are all up for grabs. At this point, every single position on this Texans offensive line should be up for grabs, should be a battle in training camp to get the best 5 guys out there. And like I said, I expect the Texans to select multiple offensive linemen in this draft. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3. That's my magic number. I could see the Texans trading back, acquiring some more picks with maybe their second, third, maybe even their first round pick in this year's draft. Let me know down in the comment section, how many offensive linemen do you think the Texans take in this draft? My lucky number, I think it's the rule of three. 3 is a good number. I could see the Texans taking 3 linemen in this draft class. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. As the last pick in this 3-round mock draft for your Houston Texans via ESPN is Ty Robinson, defensive lineman from Nebraska. He's the last selection for your Texans. And the Texans have been looking at a lot of defensive linemen, and all those guys were off the board by this point in this ESPN mock draft. TJ Sanders had gone, Joshua Farmer, the 2 guys from A&M, Scourton and Stewart, they were all gone. Alfred Collins, they were all selected. So they go with another defensive lineman, somebody who's actually been climbing up draft boards a lot recently in Ty Robinson from Nebraska. And his numbers over the past 4 seasons, pretty good. His best career year by far in 2024. 13 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 42 pressures, 37 tackles in 13 games played, far surpassing any of his prior statistical years in Nebraska. And they didn't really have much to say about him on ESPN, so I went and deferred to one of the guys who I look at for a lot of draft content, Dane Brugler, the Beast. I recommend you go check it out. This is what Dane Brugler had to say in his Beast about Ty Robinson. A 5-year starter at Nebraska, Robinson was an interchangeable defensive lineman and former defensive coordinator Tony White's 3-3-5 scheme, lining up as the nose, 3-4-eye technique, and wide of the tackle. When he stays low with a forward lean off the snap, Robinson can slant and shoot the gaps like a locomotive off the tracks, although his attack is much more methodical if he doesn't win quickly and has to play through contact. He has natural football instincts with play recognition skills that show against the pass and the run. Overall, Robinson might lack star potential, but rugged competitors with his size, toughness, and ability never go out of style in the NFL. He projects as a rotational defender who fits both even 1 technique and odd 4-eye 5 technique fronts. And kind of looking more into Robinson, looking at some of his highlights, reading up about him a little bit, kind of doing a little deeper dive on him, I think he could really fit with what the Texans want to do. They want defensive linemen that play all throughout the line, right? They want somebody who can be DT, who can play outside, kind of like a Denico Autry, Mario Edwards, kind of those guys who they can play interior, they can play on the outside, and that's exactly what Ty Robinson gives. He gives you versatility all up and down the defensive line. The Texans are looking to add another guy on the D-line. They want this unit to be scary. They want it to be like the Eagles' D-line last year up against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, where they're just getting after them every single play. When you add a guy like Ty Robinson into the mix, a promising young rookie into this really good defensive line already, could lead to some pretty good results for this Texans defense, no matter who they pick in this 2025 NFL draft. So here it is, the ESPN 3-round mock draft from today. Mel Kiper Field Yates. Go down and grade this mock draft for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I'm going to give it a B+. It would have been an A if we would have gotten a different offensive lineman at pick 58, but T-Mac, Jared Wilson, Ty Robinson, I think all 3 of those picks for the Houston Texans are home runs, knock out of the park picks for your Houston Texans. If these are the picks, I mean, even if it is T-Mac, Anthony Belton, Jared Wilson, Ty Robinson, I will be happy on draft night. I will be happy after the NFL draft if this is the haul the Texans get in this year's draft class. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure, hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow, we will be live answering all your questions with NFL insider Aaron Wilson. Be here or don't be part of the cool club, right? Like, if you don't come, you're just probably a loser. You don't love the NFL draft. You don't love the Houston Texans, and you're not a real one. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But for real, go down and hit that sub button, turn on those notifications, and show up tomorrow for our special pre-draft live show.